Ladies and gentlemen, please begin to take your seats. Our program will begin in 2 minutes.
"2022 has been exhilarating as we've reconnected, re-engaged, and worked together to develop innovative ways to improve building safety. Through it all, you continue to inspire us. Your passion and leadership are what push us to develop new and improved products and services so that you can do important work every day. Let's look at some of the biggest advancements from the past year. We expanded our codification services at General Code, which is now the second largest codifier in the United States and currently offers codification solutions to thousands of communities. General Code supports the needs of city clerks, code officials, municipal planners, and zoning officials, and offers our portfolio of high-quality digital codification solutions, custom local building codes, and MapLink to more customers than ever before. We also expanded our testing capability at NTA with a new plumbing lab in Indiana that provides test reports to manufacturers looking to obtain plumbing product certification. Now more manufacturers can design and build better, safer products and save lives globally. NTA's testing labs are accredited, ensuring you and your customers can rely on the validity of the results. Thanks to your feedback, our Digital Codes platform has released new navigation and search enhancements, including expanded access to the codes and standards your communities use. With Digital Codes Premium Complete and ICC Code Connect API, you now have access to invaluable codes and standards at your fingertips. As part of our Safety 2.0 programs, we launched a new instructor portal for the technical training program to allow instructors to access the code tools and resources they need to train young professionals looking to follow in your footsteps. In addition, we expanded our training opportunities with the launch of the ICC Online Learning Subscription Plan. This subscription provides you with continual access to the most up-to-date classes on codes, leadership, and building safety. So far this year, over 2,600 professionals earned certifications, including 39 Master Code professionals. Congratulations! With all these advancements and more to come, The Code Council continues to provide our members and customers with cutting-edge technology, products, and services. Together, we're solving problems and making our communities safer. And as remarkable as 2022 has been, just wait till you see what we have in store for 2023.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. I'm Robert Kirchdorfer, the Director of Codes and Regulations for the City of Louisville and Life Director of the Code Administrators Association of Kentucky. On behalf of your host committee, welcome to Louisville. We're so glad to have you here in our city, home of the Kentucky Derby and Louisville Slugger. Based on the 2020 census, Kentucky has more than 2 bourbon barrels per person aged in distilleries across the Commonwealth. With 10 million barrels in storage, Kentucky should be no surprise that Kentucky makes 95% of the world's bourbon. I'm truly grateful to live in this city and be the host of this year's conference to help ensure the health and safety and welfare of our communities. I want to give a huge thanks to our host chapter for their tireless effort to help prepare for this event. I'd also like to recognize the professional staff and management of the International Code Council, without whom this conference would not be possible. We hope you enjoy your stay here in Louisville. Stay safe as we gather and support the Code Council's mission. Please turn your attention to the screens as we acknowledge the generous support provided by this year's sponsors. Thank you again for all of our 2022 sponsors. Now I ask you please rise and remain standing. First, the color guard presented by the Louisville Fire Department. Next, our national anthem will be performed by Lauren Wood, residential building inspector for the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Government and one of our 2021 board shadows. Lauren also has studied vocal performance with emphasis on opera music. Lauren?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
At this time, you may all be seated, but we would like to ask all active and retired military members and first responders to remain standing, as we'd like to recognize your honorable service. You may be seated. I ask you to join me in observing a moment of silence as we remember and honor all public service workers, firefighters, police officers, and military personnel who have dedicated and lost their lives protecting our family, friends, and communities. And let us also remember and honor the victims of September 11th, the civilians killed in the attacks, and the firefighters, rescue personnel, and law enforcement officers who gave their lives saving others. Thank you. At this time, we want to take a moment to welcome all of our international participants. This week, we have attendees from Australia, Europe, the Middle East, North America, South America. We look forward to making connections with you as we embrace the same building safety mission. And finally, please stand for the conference invocation led by Steve Shapiro.
You know, a friend of mine once told me, if you're too busy to pray, you're too busy. Dear friends, let us focus our attention on our own source of inspiration. As we gather here today as members, guests, and friends of ICC, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. May we each feel our responsibility to our community and to our country, and appreciate the opportunities and challenges that each day brings to us, and the challenge to give our best always. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share these thoughts with you. Please be seated.
You may be seated. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce the President of the International Code Council Board of Directors, Cindy Davis.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Louisville. Did y'all have a good time last night? All right. Now, on with the business of the organization. I'm Cindy Davis, Deputy Director and Division of Building and Fire Regulations at the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and President of your Board of Directors. On behalf of the International Code Council, welcome to the 2022 Annual Conference. Before we get started, I would like to thank the host chapter committee for all the work you have done to prepare for this week. Will the host chapter committee please stand and be recognized? Robert, I'm going to ask you to please join me back on stage to accept a plaque on behalf of the host committee for all of the incredible hard work that you have done.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety is what we are all about. So we're kicking off today's main event with our emergency evacuation plan. Will the crowd managers please come forward? In the unlikely event of an emergency, we want you to be prepared for a safe evacuation. Take a moment to locate the exit signs closest to you. This facility is equipped with an automatic alarm notification system. The audible alarm includes a visual strobe for the hearing impaired. Should an alarm sound during the conference, please exit the building. Once outside, move away from the building and await further instructions. Our honorary crowd managers can be identified by bright green reflective vests. They are Dwayne Garris, Ron Hoover, Jimmy Deere, and John Terry. Thanks to our volunteers for your assistance. And Dwayne Garris. Forgot one. This morning, we are privileged to have Greg Fisher, Mayor of Louisville, to welcome you. Good morning, Mayor Fisher.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Louisville. Have you learned how to say Louisville yet? This is always the big thing. All right, so it's 3 syllables. It's very easy. Repeat after me. Louisville. Good. Yeah, act like you got some marbles, a little bourbon in your mouth. It's easier to say. So Louisville, welcome to Louisville. No, we're really happy to have you guys here in so many different ways. It's great that you're here, and no doubt you're going to leave inspired and entertained by our city and the good work that you all have to do as well. Robert mentioned that we've got the Kentucky Derby here, the Louisville Slugger here. We're also home of Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time. So, yeah, thank you. So Muhammad is a constant presence in our city. We celebrated his life in 2016 with a wonderful week-long homegoing ceremony, and you'll see evidence of him all throughout town as well. And so a lot of people focused on his greatness, and Muhammad would always say to me toward the end of his life, you know, he'd be introduced as, this is Muhammad Ali, he's the bravest, he's the strongest, he's the fastest, he's the 3-time heavyweight champion of the world, he's the best looking man ever, and he'd nod his head toward that. But he said, he would whisper, and this was more of his Parkinson's voice, he'd say, road work, road work, road work. And so if you're a boxer, you know, the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is you jog and you do a little shadow boxing. You're putting in your road work. And the reason why he would say road work is because he would say that greatness doesn't happen because of luck, but because of preparation through training. Most people aren't great, not because they can't be, but because they don't train to be great. You need to train daily, and you need to train with a goal. In other words, you need to put in your road work. And I would suggest that you all are here putting in your road work. Anytime that you see somebody that's great at something, it's because they put in their 10,000 hours, their 20,000 hours. It doesn't come without road work. So I know that's why you all are here, to focus on your greatness and your road work. And I have tremendous respect for you all. I'm in the final 3.5 months of being mayor. I'm term limited out. This was my 12th year as mayor, and I'm an entrepreneur and business person that just happens to be mayor. So I've learned a lot about what you all do, and I've learned a lot about the, how shall I describe this? The, not nonsense, because people have a right to be heard. The crazy things that go on in public meetings and the kind of things that people say. Let me put it that way. And I just want to say I'm very thankful that you all are protecting the safety of our communities and not those people. I'll just leave it at that, okay? Can I hear an amen? No, it's really serious business what you all do. The pictures during the national anthem were beautiful and just showed the wide array of beauty in our country. But our built environment has to be right, and it has to be safe. And every once in a while, whether it's in our country or other places around the world, we see these terrible disasters that happen that could have been avoided if buildings or infrastructure was constructed properly to code, if people took the time to do it properly. So sometimes it's shortcuts, sometimes it's just a mistake, but every time it's a disaster. And those that we can avoid, we should avoid, and you guys are our safekeepers for doing that. And I really, really appreciate as you both keep us safe, you keep us more environmentally focused. Obviously, in today's world, it's never been more important as well. Now, so I know you all are in town for serious business, but part of my job is to talk about things that aren't so serious as well, so you can enjoy our city. Robert did mention that 95% of the world's bourbon comes from Kentucky. You know what you call the other 5%? Counterfeit, okay? I want to stay away from that. So we created a hospitality concept called Bourbonism about 10 years ago, which celebrates our great local food traditions from the wonderful farms that come around here, combined with bourbon tourism. We call that Bourbonism. So you all are Bourbonistas while you're here outside of your workforce, and we encourage you to enjoy that along with the Muhammad Ali Center. It's just about, 4 blocks from here, as is Louisville Slugger, and a few other places that you can go and visit. Churchill Downs is about 10 minutes just south by the airport. So there's a lot of fun things to see and do here. So I encourage you to do that. And I want to thank Robert Kirchdorfer. Robert and I have worked together now for about 12 years or so. He's the consummate professional. He's the consummate lifelong learner as well, and it's just been a real joy to work with him and to see how he runs our Louisville Metro government codes and regulations with such professionalism. So I want to shout out to Robert with a big thank you to him for all of his years of service for our city. And if you all need anything while you're in town, please Robert or myself know, and we will be happy to host you and help you in any way we possibly can. But thank you for coming to Louisville. Enjoy your stay here. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor Fisher. We also have this morning Deputy Associate Administrator David Marstead here with us today from the United States Federal Emergency Management Agency to say a few words. David, would you please come up? Mr. Marstead serves as the chair of the Building Codes Executive Group at FEMA and has helped to advance our shared interests in helping communities adopt, implement, and enforce modern, hazard-resistant codes through federal assistance. Welcome, Mr. Marstead.
Good morning. Thank you, Cindy, for that kind introduction. First, Administrator Criswell sends her regrets that she could not speak with you today. She's a staunch advocate for building codes and was very much looking forward to joining you. I would like to thank the International Code Council for FEMA's invitation to be here. But let's take a moment to reflect on the significance of where we are today. Just a few hours to our southwest is Mayfield, while a few hours to our southeast is Perry County. In just a 9-month period, these two communities experienced some of the most catastrophic disasters in the history of Kentucky. Between an ES4 tornado and prolific flooding, 120 people were tragically killed, families were uprooted, local economies were decimated. Those recoveries are estimated to take years. The faces of these survivors and the harrowing stories they've shared have been imprinted on our hearts and in our minds, and will continue to serve as important reminders of why we do the work we do. But these are just two stories of two communities out of the hundreds across the nation that have looked climate change directly in the eyes and have seen just how bad it can get. I know these types of events weigh on your minds as much as they do on mine. That is why your efforts to help impacted communities build back stronger and more resilient is critical and cannot be understated. For that, all of us and the nation, thank you. I want to set the stage for this discussion by focusing on one of the most powerful drivers of our actions, cost. Whether measured in loss or savings, cost is universal language we share across borders, oceans, and continents. It is an indicator of both the progress we have made in building resilience and the complex challenges before us. And as you know, the fiscal savings from adopting modern building codes is significant. Consider this. What if every single person in America learned that for every dollar invested in modern codes is an $11 return on investment? What if they learned that other communities were benefiting from an estimated savings of $1.6 billion in loss avoidance from major hazards, which, by the way, will amount to a cumulative savings of $132 billion through 2040? I would say that we would have a strong bench of ambassadors making the case that modern code should be the standard, not the exception. Perhaps one day we will get there, but as a nation we have some work to do. Now, we know that studies have shown that 2 out of 3 communities in the U.S. have yet to adopt modern codes. That means there are roughly 220 million people bearing an incredibly high risk that is threatening the life and the legacies they have worked so hard to build for their families. And there are, in fact, some of us here today who share that risk because, according to the White House Climate Task Force, 4 in 10 Americans live in a county that was impacted by a climate disaster last year. So whether it be fire, flood, and everything in between, the impacts from climate change are inescapable, and the cost of doing nothing is simply just too high. Allow me to highlight some of the fiscal data provided by our partners at NOAA. Since 1980, the U.S. has faced 332 climate disasters where overall damages reached or exceeded $1 billion. The cost of these 332 disasters, these events, exceeds $2 trillion. While 20 of those billion-dollar events took place just in 2021, further, in just the first 6 months of 2022, we have seen 9 disasters with losses exceeding $1 billion each. The truth is, we have arrived at an inflection point in this country's ability to sustain the future impacts we know are coming, and we must act now. And what I can tell you today is that the full force of the federal government is being brought to bear in the fight against America's climate crisis. This past June, the Biden-Harris administration released the National Initiative to Advance Building Codes. In fact, Administrator Criswell had the opportunity to participate in the historic announcement at Florida International University's Wall of Wind, alongside some of our nation's top building science leaders like ICC's Michael Savage. There was no more appropriate a place for the announcement than Florida because of the state's incredible efforts to strengthen building codes and enforcement following Hurricane Andrew. The fact that Florida codes have prevented over $1 billion in annual losses since 2000 is something we must celebrate far and wide. And this national initiative is also something to celebrate, as it is dedicated to boosting climate resilience while prioritizing the needs of underserved communities. It is visionary, aggressive, and calls on key federal partners to work hand in hand to meet its goals. One of the most important being to increase support and incentives for modern code adoption. FEMA's role in supporting these efforts is taking place a few ways. But first, let me start by stating a few well-known truths. One, we know that mitigation measures can be a significant upfront cost, which underfunded and under-resourced communities often simply cannot afford. And two, while climate change may affect us all, it certainly does not affect us all equally. That is why FEMA has firmly placed equity at the center of our efforts, because becoming a resilient nation cannot be a patchwork effort. It must be done together. An example of that equity is reflected within our Building Resilience, Infrastructure, and Communities grant program. Through a portion of our BRIC FY21 funding, we are supporting 7 communities, 6 of which are tribal nations, with their development and adoption of modern building codes. And as we have seen BRIC funding double year to year, we hope to support even more communities with these critical projects in the years to come. Another way we are supporting the national initiative is through our Mitigation Framework Leadership Group, where we are leading a task force of 16 other federal agencies charged with extending the protection of consensus-based building codes across the country. The MIT-FLAG is tasked with an incredibly important yet equally challenging mission. However, I'm confident we have the right partners with the right expertise and resources to get the job done. Then we have our new building code strategy, which is guiding our efforts to integrate building codes and standards across FEMA, strengthening nationwide capability for superior building performance, supporting vulnerable communities, and promoting public adoption and enforcement of modern codes to reduce the negative impacts of climate change. The measurement of our successes in reaching these goals will be determined through cost savings, community resilience, recovery capacity, and preparedness in the face of disasters and natural hazards. And finally, our building code adoption tracking portal is providing local policymakers with a holistic view of where modern codes have, and more importantly, have not been adopted across their communities. These are just a few steps that FEMA is taking to execute on the President's national initiative to advance building codes. Now, the federal government can continue to convene working groups and write policies and distribute funding, but it is the work of our local partners that bring these efforts to life. Therefore, I want to uplift the work of a couple of local communities, all with vast landscapes and unique needs, that took their future risk into consideration and made the important down payment on resilience. These communities knew that bringing their communities up to code was extensive and not an overnight fix. However, they chose to step up and set the standard of what being resilient really means. With that, I want to take you to the heart of America, Greensburg, Kansas. 15 years ago, an EF5 tornado destroyed nearly 90% of the buildings in Greensburg, which is southwest of my hometown in Nebraska, and just one of the thousands of communities lining Tornado Alley. The community's pain and suffering drove local leaders to take necessary steps to protect their community from this level of damage in the future. With the help of state and federal partners, Greensburg adopted a modern hazard resilience building code. So their residential standard structures were hardened against the impacts of disasters like tornadoes. Greensburg has become a national leader in building resiliency and continues to inspire their fellow communities to follow their lead. Now, moving south, I want to talk a little bit about Florida. As you may remember, Hurricane Michael was an incredibly powerful storm that virtually wiped out most of the structures in Mexico Beach. State and local leaders are taking their rebuilding efforts seriously. New buildings and those being raised are doing so at the threshold of 3 feet above the 500-year floodplain and can withstand storm surge. Mexico Beach is unified in their definition of resilience and committed to working together to build back stronger. Before I go, I want to recognize the code enforcement officials who are in communities across America, ensuring the structures we work, sleep, cook, and live our everyday lives within safely serve their purpose. ICC may have said it best: code officials are often referred to as silent defenders. Their work goes primarily unnoticed, yet countless lives have been saved over the years because nothing happened. So allow me to share my thanks to these dedicated professionals keeping all of us safe. And finally, as we celebrate National Preparedness Month and you engage in dialogue this week and in the months and years ahead, as you consider and implement decisions, I ask that you remember this work is about saving lives and reducing disaster suffering. When situations become complex, when the lines get blurred and the way forward seems unclear, remember this is about people. It's about your family, your friends, your neighbors. When I say your work truly matters, I truly mean it. Code writers, engineers, researchers, and enforcers are all on the front line of climate change, making you too first responders. And when I say FEMA honors our partnership with ICC, I mean it. We have been with you for nearly 40 years, and we look forward to the many more that will only be reaffirmed with a renewed MOU in the months ahead. But this partnership goes beyond words on a paper. This partnership is bound by trust and a commitment to reaching our shared goal of building a stronger and more resilient nation. The work we do today truly will protect generations to come. City by city, state by state, house by house, whatever it takes, let's meet this mission, helping people before, during, and after disasters together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marstead. At this time, would you please turn your attention to the screens for a special message from Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
My thanks to the members of the International Code Council and all of this year's conference attendees. I am pleased to address you today as leaders who are dedicated to ensuring our homes are safe, affordable, resilient, and sustainable. Like HUD, the work of ICC shapes our built environment in many ways, and together we can support the growth of off-site construction as part of the solution for closing the affordable housing supply gap and continue moving forward toward sustainable and resilient energy and building codes. The overall rate of new home production fell to historic lows over the past several years, and this shortage, coupled with other factors, resulted in rental and home ownership being unaffordable and sometimes unattainable for scores of Americans. Even before the pandemic, nearly 18 million households spent more than half their incomes just to pay their rent or mortgage. That figure represents roughly 1 out of every 7 families in the United States. And the pandemic only made the situation worse. Home prices surged. There was a time when high housing costs were expected in certain areas of our country, but housing affordability became an issue across the entire country. This is not a new issue. Over the past several years, I have watched prices surge while supply has been constrained. Secretary Fudge and I have been traveling to communities across this country, and every place we go, every local official and community leader tells us the same thing. Housing prices are simply too high for folks to afford. That is why I am so proud to work in the Biden-Harris administration, where we understand that housing plays a fundamental role in improving the lives of the American people. Advancing housing opportunity is a priority of this administration, and making it more affordable is central to our mission to lower costs for Americans. But we also need to make sure that these homes are durable, resilient, and healthy, and energy efficient. And your role is critical on all of these fronts. HUD has long recognized the opportunity for factory-built housing to help close the affordable supply gap. In fact, this year we are marking the 50th anniversary of Operation Breakthrough, a large-scale research and development effort that led to the creation of the HUD Manufactured Housing Code. Today, 10% of new single-family construction starts are manufactured homes. Having a single national HUD code has been key to helping manufacturers achieve the economies of scale that make manufactured homes an affordable option. HUD is closely following other home building innovations that hold promise for increasing housing productivity and therefore housing supply. These technologies, which include modular, panelized, pre-cut, and additive construction, only account for a small share of new construction, but one that is growing each year. This summer, HUD featured many of these technologies at its Innovative Housing Showcase on the National Mall. We also released an offshore construction research roadmap that points to core areas of exploration, including regulatory frameworks and standards. Since other types of off-site home construction are not covered by the HUD Manufactured Housing Code, they face inconsistent state and local inspection requirements and standards that create barriers to greater scale. We deeply appreciate the Council's efforts to develop model codes for these innovative housing types and look forward to working with you to promote more widespread adoption across the country. Another area we are committed to is improving energy efficiency and lowering the carbon footprint in HUD-assisted housing. And we look forward to your comments and partnerships as we publish new rules over the next several months. You may also know that we already incentivize and in some cases require above-code green building standards through many of our programs. We are also committed to resilient housing, and we see the growing intensity, duration, and frequency of extreme weather events, including the extreme heat experienced by many Americans this summer, droughts in the West, and flash floods occurring across many regions. HUD plays a significant role in disaster recovery with billions of recovery funds appropriated by Congress through our Disaster Recovery Program. We want to be sure that when housing is rebuilt after natural disasters, it is built back better. As we continue to grapple with housing supply, and as we think about what the future of housing will look like, we know that factory-built housing will be a key part of the solution, while adopting more sustainable and resilient energy and building codes is key to our climate response. We look forward to working with you to advance these priorities and help ensure that American families have safe, affordable, and sustainable places to call home. Take care.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Todman, for that message. Please keep your attention to the screens as we now hear from Dr. Sharon Napier, National Program Leader for Water Reuse from the Environmental Protection Agency.
Hello. I am Dr. Sharon Napier, the National Program Leader for Water Reuse at the Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm excited to talk about the great work by those engaged in the National Water Reuse Action Plan, or the RAP as we like to call it. The RAP is a multi-stakeholder collaborative that leverages the expertise of over 100 different organizations to enable water reuse through a series of collaborative actions. And today I'd like to highlight one important action within the RAP focused on on-site non-potable reuse. Reuse of these on-site waters that are generated within buildings, such as gray water, black water, and stormwater for non-potable applications can provide resilience against drought and flooding by reducing the burden on a city's centralized water and wastewater network. There are no national regulations for on-site non-potable reuse systems. Rather, state and local premise plumbing codes govern the delivery and quality of both potable and non-potable water within a building and are adopted from national codes and standards organizations such as the International Code Council. RAP Action 218 seeks to incorporate on-site reuse research into codes and standards for premise plumbing. It is led by the National Blue Ribbon Commission for On-Site Non-Potable Reuse in partnership with the US EPA. And the commission has long advanced best management practices for on-site water systems and includes practitioners now from 14 states and Canada. EPA has conducted research to identify risk-based targets for on-site reuse called pathogen log removal targets, or LRTs, for various sources of on-site generated waters. EPA and the Commission have been working together to advance the adoption of these science-based targets at the local level. This RAP action is a mechanism to partner with multiple codes and standards organizations and encourage alignment of approaches for on-site reuse across the nation. Such alignment will ultimately achieve reductions in building energy and water use at scale and spur innovation in the marketplace for manufacturers of on-site treatment technologies. We encourage you to join this effort within your relevant code or standards committees to align on-site non-potable approaches. Through the work of the RAP Collaborative, we are striving to ensure a water-secure future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Napier. Next, we would like to welcome Julianne Batista. She is the Branch Chief, Stormwater and Green Area Regulatory Review Division of the Washington, D.C. Department of the Energy and Environment. Ms. Batista?
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. I am Julianne Bautista, and as mentioned, I'm a Chief Engineer for the District of Columbia Department of Energy and Environment. With the support of the National Blue Ribbon Commission for on-site non-potable water reuse systems, I am going to make the pitch that we need to incorporate on-site water reuse research into plumbing codes and standards. Advancing water reuse now is critically important. Many parts of the United States are facing historic droughts, and given our changing climate, water scarcity is expected to increase. In the very near term, Arizona could see a 20% reduction in access to water from the Colorado River. California is again considering water rationing. But it's not just the West. In addition to California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Oregon, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas are all facing extreme drought conditions. This summer, nearly all of Massachusetts faced severe drought conditions with widespread crop loss reported. As Sharon mentioned, there are no national standards for on-site water reuse. That's significantly slowing the growth of water reuse technologies and applications. To enable on-site water reuse, we need standardization. And that's why I'm here. I'm part of a commission of state and local water officials that have been working with EPA and NSF to address these issues. In partnership with the Code Council, we've established a water reuse working group of code development experts and water reuse experts to explore opportunities to protect public health and to better support state, local, tribal, and territorial governments seeking to advance water reuse opportunities through integration of best practices into the I-codes that govern water quality and address these issues. We had a great first meeting yesterday, but we'll need to keep the momentum up to be successful. Your expertise and participation are critical. Please consider participating. If you need contact information, please reach out to me or Rich Anderson, Director of the PMG. We are asking for your broad support to integrate risk-based water quality standards into I-codes. We want engagement and participation in the development of a code change proposal. We need your expertise and guidance. Please join and participate in the Water Reuse Working Group. On behalf of the National Blue Ribbon Commission, we thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Batista. At this time, please join me in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Saad Al-Kasabi. Dr. Saad. Dr. Saad is the governor of the Saudi Standards, Metrology, and Quality Organization. He is also this year's recipient of the ICC Global Award. His support to utilize the international codes as the basis for the Saudi Building Code promotes building safety in the world and supports the Code Council to carry out its global mission. Welcome, Dr. Saad.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful city, Louisville. I hope that I learned the lesson that was explained by the mayor. Ms. Cindy Davis, President of ICC, representatives of the ICC, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. It is a true honor to be with you today at the ICC Global Membership Council annual meeting. With great pleasure, I express my warm gratitude to the ICC for choosing me to receive the ICC 2022 International Award. My colleagues and I at the Saudi Building Code National Committee are looking forward towards a thriving future and greater achievements in cooperation with ICC. I am confident that with our sincere alignment, continuous engagement, shared visions and ambitions, we will be able to achieve our common goals. This year, we are 8 years away from achieving our Saudi Vision 2030. The vision that reshapes Saudi Arabia into a better future. With pride and honor, like every Saudi citizen, we believe that this vision is the compass to our future of vibrant society, a thriving economy, and ambitious nation. The Saudi vision has been the flame of massive development in economic, social, and political aspects, and the spark of major projects in the kingdom in various areas. Over the past few years, the Saudi Building Code National Committee has made significant progress to achieve the objective of the vision, especially in the construction sector, which constitutes 6.5% of the Saudi GDP. Under this umbrella, 17 members from various entities in the government and private sector meet to discuss and approve various initiatives related to the Saudi Building Code and its update. We aspire for the Saudi Code to be a reference code at the national and regional level. We are working with our partners towards establishing one of the most important national means to improve the safety of buildings, rationalize energy, and better contribute to sustainable development, leading to our vision-targeted economic growth. Honorable guests, during the past 4 years, the SPCNC has launched more than 20 codes and has coordinated with 27 Saudi universities to ensure the inclusion of the Saudi Building Code in their curricula. SPCNC has also cooperated with the Saudi Council of Engineers to deliver more than 120 training programs attended by more than 8,000 engineers from the building and construction sector, as well as the government sector. Despite the limitation imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, more than 94 technical workshops have been conducted in various regions of the kingdom. It is my pleasure to take this opportunity to thank ICC for all the support you have provided us during this very important period. Our cooperation has been a cornerstone to our success in our noble mission, and I am confident it will lead to more achievements in the future. We look forward to our cooperation in introducing the Saudi Building Code as the basis for the Gulf Building Code. Finally, it is my pleasure to extend my high appreciation for ICC and the esteemed audience. We look forward to furthering this strategic partnership to flourish and succeed in bringing a brighter future for our societies in particular and humanity in general. Thank you.
Congratulations and thank you to all of our prestigious guest speakers. This concludes our opening ceremonies, and we are now going to take a 10-minute break. So please be back in your seats in 10 minutes.